morning, everyone. This is Una Daly from the Community College Consortium for OER, and welcome to our first webinar of the winter-spring 2016. And our topic is Best Practices for OER Faculty Development, and I can see that this is a topic of interest to you. And we have two wonderful speakers this morning, both librarians, Amy Hofer from Open Oregon Educational Resources and Regina Gong from Lansing Community College in Michigan. A few little housekeeping things. I think many of you are familiar with Blackboard Collaborate, but on your left-hand side you will see a list of participants this morning. And feel free to chat with each other in the window that is directly underneath that, the chat window. And please use that window also for comments and questions. We will be holding the formal question part till the end of this webinar, but we will answer in the chat window as we go along. So thanks for participating actively with us. We thank the California Community College System, who provides us with support on their Blackboard system, and also captioning for this webinar, for live captioning now and also for viewing later. Alrighty, our agenda, after I introduce our speakers, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Community College Consortium for OER. Probably many of you have heard this before. And then we will get directly into our speakers' presentations. We'll hear about Lansing Community College and the great work they've been doing around OER. And then we will hear about the statewide effort in Oregon. All right. I want to introduce my speakers here, and if you haven't had a chance, you, our audience, haven't had a chance to introduce yourself in the chat window, please take a moment to do that now as we're hearing from our speakers. So first off, I'm going to introduce Amy Hofer. She is the coordinator of the statewide Open Education Library Services, and this is for the state of Oregon. She reports in at Lynn Benton Community College and has had this position since 2015. Prior to this, she was the distance learning librarian at Portland State University. And she has also worked as a business librarian at Golden Gate University in San Francisco and as an instructional librarian at California State East Bay in Hayward, California. So welcome, Amy. Would you like to say hi to our audience out here?
Hi, everybody. I'm looking forward to this webinar.
All right, thanks, Amy. And next I'd like to introduce Regina Gong, who is the Manager of Technical Services and Systems for the Lansing Community College Library. She's been with Lansing since 2010, and in her current position, she oversees the Technical Services Unit and provides overall leadership in the management of library resources and collection development. She also manages LCC's Integrated Library System and Discovery Service and has been very active in the OER Leadership Initiative at LCC this last year. And I've had the pleasure of meeting both of these folks in person. But Regina, please
hi, everyone. I'm so glad to see you all and be part of this webinar. So, hi.
All right. Thank you both. And as I mentioned, I have had the pleasure of working with Amy and Regina over the last year and just seeing the amazing efforts that they're leading and how they're growing in their specific areas. So I know you're going to get a lot out of this today. So the Community College Consortium for OER, our mission is expanding access to high-quality open materials. We do that through professional development for faculty to help them find good materials, and these webinars are part of that professional development. And ultimately, it's about improving student success by providing expanded access and affordability for all of our students. We have over 250 colleges who are members in 21 states and provinces, and we're happy to see the middle of the country filling in now, and OER is really becoming mainstream. We started about 8 years ago, and it was still a pretty new topic, particularly at the community colleges, and it's just so exciting to see this growth happening. And I think we have people from all over the country today. It's really, really exciting. All right. So the reason for this topic is that quite a few members have told us that they're starting off OER initiatives, or they may be reinvigorating OER initiatives at their campus. And faculty have to do a lot of the heavy lifting around OER adoption, and they ask, what are the best practices out there? I really need more information on that. And of course, Regina and Amy are going to fill you in on their programs. But I put together just a few bullets here around kind of the top-level highlights that I have seen in various programs over the years. And incentives is an important thing for faculty who are involved in OER adoption, and it can be expressed in many ways depending on the particular college environment. Sometimes it is becoming part of a special pilot group and being recognized by your college for participating in an OER pilot. Sometimes it's stipends to recognize the important work that faculty are doing, or release time from their normal teaching duties. So there's many ways to achieve that. Over and over again tell us that they need help to discover high quality OER, and they need help understanding the open licensing. And certainly librarians, which Amy and Regina both are in a perfect position to help with that. They're search experts, and they understand copyright. And finally, support for adopting OER. And this is kind of over the long haul. Adoption of OER to be successful and sustainable over time often needs policies at the college level. Those could be around bookstore interaction with OER. It could be around getting students or uploading materials into the LMS, etc. So there's a lot of ways that support can occur and that needs to occur to make it sustainable over time. And with no further ado, I'm going to let you hear from our speakers about how they've implemented best practices for faculty OER development at their colleges. And first up is Regina.
Okay, thank you so much, Una. Good afternoon or good morning to you all, depending on where you are. Like I said, I'm so glad to be part of this webinar. It's actually my first time doing this for CCCOER, and I'd like to thank Una for giving me the chance to share with you all our project here at LCC. So for today, I'm actually going to talk about how our OER initiative started here at LCC, our strategies, and the different activities that we did to support those strategies. Later on in my talk, I would also share with you some of the best practices that you can follow. So this is whether you're just starting an OER initiative in your campuses, or whether you're already deep into the OER initiative in your institutions. So as far as our OER journey is concerned, it actually started back in 2014. That was around fall semester. So I pitched in the idea of the OER project to the Competitiveness and Innovation Committee of our Academic Senate. So at the time, here at the college, there were already some talks on how we can make our textbooks more affordable for our students. And so since I suggested this project, and you know how it goes. I was voluntold to lead it. Two of our faculty immediately got on board to work with me. And fortunately for me, those two faculty who agreed to work with me were very much active in campus committees here at LCC, and also they were both members of our academic senate. So for our first strategy, it really is to get institutional support for our OER initiative. So we basically sold the idea of OER adoption to our administration. So we got invited to meetings with our provost for academic affairs and the executive leadership team. So what we did in those meetings was to tell them that many of our students don't buy textbooks because they are very expensive. And you know, you probably know that they try to find creative ways to get their hands on their textbooks just so they won't have to buy it. We also told our administration that our students rely heavily on our library's course reserve system. That's actually the one that's triggering all our circulation figures, because that is really very popular among our students. But you know, as you know, my librarian colleagues out there, it's really not sustainable. Even, you know, we can't put all textbooks on reserves, and it's not a solution that is really for the long term. So in that room, in those presentations, we got their support, and that was good. And so we went on with our second strategy. So for our second strategy, we wanted to facilitate campus-wide discussion of OER. We found out early on, so we did a survey with our faculty, that they were not very familiar or aware of OERs, and they don't know where to find relevant OER for their courses. So creating awareness was the first in our to-do list to implement this strategy. And I can tell you that we spent most of our time and focus doing this because we wanted our faculty to know the issues surrounding OER, and most especially open licensing. We felt that the payoff for doing this, you know, for concentrating on awareness of OER first, would be good, because that will prepare our faculty for when the time comes for them to adopt OERs for their courses. So this is a screenshot of the LibGuide that I created on OER. So basically, the reason why I created this LibGuide is that we wanted to make it easy for our faculty to find OERs, particularly open textbooks that they can adopt for their courses. So that was our first phase of this OER project, textbook replacement first. And you can see the OER LibGuide URL right at the top. You can just take a look at it at your own leisure, and we'll probably just put the link in the chat box too. By the way, if you go to this LibGuide, you will see that I've assigned CC BY license to this. So if you want to adopt this LibGuide, you find it useful for you, just feel free to do so, of course with proper attribution. And another thing, or another project that we did to facilitate campus-wide
yeah, me too.
OER, thank you, adoption was to hold an OER workshops for our faculty. So that's the title of the OER workshop that we did. We conducted these workshops because in in the survey that we gave to our faculty and to our librarians too, the main thing that they asked for was training on OERs. That's the first that they ask. And they want also training on how to search the different OER sites and repositories out there. And of course, they also want open licensing, information. Una mentioned that earlier in her slides. This one was held in partnership with our Center for Teaching Excellence. And we did this workshop all throughout spring 2015 semester, and I partnered with Jim Luke, who is our economics faculty professor. And this is the biggest project that we've done, so far to support campus-wide discussion of OER. This is where I met Una in person, because before I only can hear her voice by attending CCCOER webinars. But I finally met her. So we invited OER leaders and experts from other community colleges to come to Michigan. And I said Una was one of our invited speakers, and it was really great working her with on this event. So when we were planning for the summit, our main goal was we wanted to provide a venue where conversations on OER can start. So we wanted to see the participants interact, learn, and engage with each other. That's why we designed an afternoon workshop where they can do that. One of the goals also for this OER Summit was to start an OER community, not only here at LCC, but also across Michigan Community College as well. And if you remember, I mentioned earlier that we got institutional support from the college. Part of that support too was they provided us the funds that we needed to mount and host this event. And as you can see from this slide, the Michigan Colleges Online also was a co-sponsor for this summit. I'd like to thank MCO because they helped defray the cost of providing lunch to all the participants. So here's the speakers that we had for the summit. So as you can see, they are really the movers and shakers in the OER world. So we had Dr. David Wiley from Lumen, we had Nicole Allen from Spark, of course Una, and we also had Nicole Finkbeiner from OpenStax, and of course this panel of community college experts. Una got me in touch with Preston Davis, Lisa Young, and Quill West, who led the afternoon workshops for our participants. Of course, I just had to invite my Northwestern Michigan College colleague, Tina Ulrich, who is spearheading an OER project at NMC. And I think the NMC folks are represented here in this webinar, so hello to all of you. Also, I included two of our faculty here, Jeff Janowick and Carrie Richards, because they were the ones who said, okay, I will jump in to use an open textbook for my class right away. So I included them in the panel too. So I'll be showing you pictures from the summit. So this is during the keynote speech of Dr. David Wiley. He talked about high impact OER adoption. And of course, those are the two Nicoles, Nicole Allen and Nicole Finkbeiner. All their talks are available for you to download. Of course, they have CC BY license. I'll be giving you the links later in my presentation. So this is the afternoon session. We moved to a different venue. This is at the Gannon Commons. It's newly renovated, and that's Una right there at the podium moderating the community college panel. So this is a nice shot. Don't you think? That's a nice shot from the second floor. It was really well attended. We had 208 participants. 70% are from LCC and 30% are from external. Attendees were a mix of librarians, faculty, administrators, such as dean, directors, provosts. We had instructional designers, we had some students, and we also even had policy makers from the Michigan Department of Education and the MCCA. I was really so happy seeing 36 people representing 17 community colleges in Michigan attending this event. And of course, we also had attendees from research institutions such as MSU and U of M. So this is the nuts and bolts workshop that was held in the afternoon. So we actually had a remixing exercise where the participants used those pink cards that you can see right there to design their own lesson plans. So I'd like to thank Quill, I don't know if she's here, for suggesting this activity because it was really well received and the participants enjoyed doing it. And of course, I just had to show this to you just because it's super cute. We ordered a specially made OER Summit and CC Buy cookies just for this event. And a lot of folks tweeted those cookies. So these are some of the summit takeaways that we had. And my favorite was the one in the middle, and that one was from our biology faculty. And she was actually instrumental in encouraging all her other biology faculty colleagues to adopt an open textbook. And in fact, they are doing that, and I'm going to tell you about it in a bit. So if you want to see more of the conversations from the OER Summit, you can just Google hashtag LCCOER. And this is the link where you can find presentations and videos that you can download from the summit. We have the link there, and there's also a Storyfy link that you can take a look. And so now, moving on to strategy number 3, which is to pioneer an OER adoption process. We felt that the first two strategies really helped us set the stage for our faculty to do this, an adoption process of OER. And I am going to show you, this is actually a copy of the Senate resolution that was passed on March 6, 2015, encouraging faculty to use OER. Of course, we're mindful of academic freedom, so we were careful not to dictate that faculty absolutely must use OER. So rather, and I put that in the box there, faculty are encouraged to give preference to the use of pedagogically appropriate OERs when making textbook adoption decisions. So combined with this resolution and the OER workshops that we did for our faculty and culminating with the OER Summit, some of our faculty jumped in. And by the way, if you want to adopt this resolution, just let me know and I can send you a copy. So this is our open textbook adoptions for fall 2015. We had 5 faculty and 5 courses. Those are the courses listed there. 12 sections and a total student enrollment of 346. We already saved $69,441 in textbook costs for our students. I put an asterisk over by the Psych 202 and Phil 211 course because those courses used an instructor-created textbook. But at the time, they were not yet openly licensed. So this is one of the faculty that I was talking to you about in the previous slide. I was able to work with Dr. Mark Kelland, who wrote his own textbook on, actually it's Psych 202, which is the psychology of personality. So I encourage him to put a CC BY license to his book, and we deposited it in CNX Connections. And OpenStax, I'd like to thank Nicole Finkbeiner, was able to create a custom landing page for Mark. And the URL is right at the top. If you want to let your faculty know about this, of course, you can forward that to them, and they can adopt it if they want to. Incidentally, Mark plans on doing a sabbatical in the fall to write another textbook, and I think this time it's on positive psychology. So I hope to work more with faculty who have written their own textbooks to make it openly licensed. So as you can see, we are not just consumers of OER, we're also creators. And we did a survey of our students in the fall 2015 and asked them how they feel about having a free textbook for their class. And this is just some of their feedbacks. I'm not going to read them all, but the common theme seems to be that they really appreciated not having to buy a textbook for their class. And we have more faculty adoptions this spring. It's still the same as the fall, but with the addition of our biology, 127, 128, and 270 faculty. For spring, actually, they are doing a soft launch. So the biology faculty is offering Campbell's Biology and also the OpenStax biology textbook for their students. And then in the fall 2016 semester, they're going to completely transition to just using the OpenStax. And all our intro to psychology classes will also use an open textbook in fall 2016. I just don't know what that is going to be because they're still evaluating 5 potential open textbooks. So this is my last slide. Best practices. So I don't know if it would work for you, but it certainly, worked for us. First is learn about the issues. You can't sell what you don't know. So I encourage you to learn about the issues surrounding the textbook market. Read about anything open. And when I say open, that's open access, open education, open data, just to name a few. And then find your OER champions early on, because those are the people who can advocate and support your initiative. Of course, collaborate with faculty. You really need to get their buy-in, since they're the ones who are going to make the leap to being open. And also, if you haven't done an OER readiness survey in your campuses, I encourage you to do that. And by doing that, you can ask how you can support them and get them started. And of course, involve librarians. This is a no-brainer, because as a librarians, and Una said, we are good in connecting people together. So librarians really are in the best position to be part of this initiative. Talk to students. They are the direct beneficiaries of this initiative. So if you can, talk to them. If you already have an OER initiative in your campuses, let them know how they can participate. Here at LCC, next month in March, we are going to have a forum to talk about OER to our students. And we are partnering with our Student Life and Leadership Academy in doing this. And this is also going to be our chance to let them know that LCC is doing something to help them in, mitigating textbook costs. Also, align goals of the OER project with your institution's mission. That's always very important, because that's where you will get buy-in from your administrators and faculty. And lastly, look beyond your institutions. You know, you need to be proactive and expand your professional learning network. So connect with institutions within your state and find out who among them are doing OER projects. For us here in Michigan, we're fortunate because the Michigan Colleges Online, or MCO, has an OER project that I and other community colleges here in Michigan are part of. So we have a lot of projects in the works, and one of which would be an institutional repository where community colleges can deposit OER materials, and also possibly offering grants to faculty for creating OER materials. So that's all I have for you. Thank you for listening, and here's my email. You can follow me at Twitter. I have #DRGong. And now I'll turn you over to Una.
Thank you so much, Regina. You have sparked a lot of conversation in the chat window, and there's been a lot of questions and answers flying back and forth. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your work that you have been doing for the last year and a half. It's really amazing what you guys have accomplished and what you still have out there to continue with. So keep us posted on that, Regina, and thanks again. And now I'm going to turn it over to Amy, who manages the statewide Open Oregon Educational Resources Project.
Thanks, Una, and thanks, Regina. That was really great. So I've been in my position for a year. You can see I have a job title that was written by a committee. It's so long that it even has a comma in it. And thanks so much for having me, and I'm really impressed by the turnout for today's webinar. So let's see here. Open Oregon Educational Resources is funded through the Oregon Community College Distance Learning Association. It's a statewide position where I'm helping reduce textbook costs at Oregon's 17 community colleges, and we're not in a system. So it's 17 separate campuses that are all in a different place and all have different needs, and of course some shared concerns as well. And let's see here. So here I am. As a coordinator, this is my picture of a network to kind of show what I do. And I just wanted to start out by saying that this presentation is about faculty development, but faculty are just one of the kinds of stakeholders that I work with. And in a lot of cases, I'm supporting the people that do faculty development at each campus. So, all that said, I'm going to talk about my activities through a faculty development lens, and I hope that this is useful to the folks that are listening. So as a coordinator, I really see my role as being about communication, making connections, trying to have a bird's eye view of what's happening around the state, being a networker, being able to say, oh, you're working on this, let me put you in touch with this other person at this other college across the state. I've been in this job for a year, as I said, and one of the very first things that I did with help from the Distance Learning Association was that we created a name and an online presence for the Oregon Community College OER efforts, and that's Open Oregon. So we launched our website, which you'll see in a second. I established an Open Oregon listserv, and the Open Oregon logo that you saw a minute ago was created at no cost by the Lane Community College Media Department. They did such a beautiful job, and they didn't ask for any payment. We've got a Twitter account. You can follow us. And I've really been developing contacts with folks in key groups, so not just faculty, but also champions of all kinds on every campus. Librarians, distance learning, students, bookstore managers, accessibility services, national groups like CCCOER, and just all kinds of OER leadership throughout North America. And when we were sort of talking about our presentation the other day, Regina said, oh, at this point, what I want to know is what are some specific communication strategies that you've used with all these groups? And so I have to say I work the email. People get a lot of email from me. And at some point you kind of have to realize like, okay, this is falling down people's inboxes. So another thing that I do is I pick up the phone and call people all the time. I was encouraged by a couple of my library colleagues to establish a single point of contact at each college. So that's somebody that is designated that I can reach out to if I have a question about, you know, who is the chair of the writing department on your campus? That's who I'm going to ask. So it's not just sending to you know, the listserv for all the librarians or the listserv for all the accessibility services folks. It's really a specific person who has said like, yeah, I'll be responsible for answering your questions. So that's been another strategy that was really helpful, is establishing that single point of contact. So here's our website, openoregon.org. Feel free to visit. And of course we're indebted to openwashington.org, and I use their attribution builder that's on their site all the time, and you'll see at the bottom of the slides with photos that I've used attributions that were created with that tool. So I've been using the site to encourage adoption by sharing information. We've been funding projects and also showcasing successes. And so one of the things that I want to show you, actually it's kind of covered up on this slide, but there's a tab for resources. And what's on this tab, this came out of a summer project that a group of librarians worked on. We didn't just want to create another guide to resources that you could use, because there's so many of those out there. So what this is it really uniquely captures which open or no cost or low cost materials are already in use at Oregon community colleges. So you can see there's a link that says use this short form to submit your own course materials, so faculty can fill out the form and, you know, let me know what they're using, or I can do the data entry if, you know, sometimes the college will just give me an email or a spreadsheet or some other kind of dump of here's what's being adopted and I'll put it in. We're getting close to 100. I think we've got 90 entries on here, which is really exciting. And when we get to 100, I'm going to be making a big to-do about it. And this page was developed with the help of Tamara Marnell. She's the PCC Library Web Analyst. So she helped develop the back end in WordPress to make the form go into this you know, really nice list on the web page. And so it's a little bit different from peer review, but it is endorsement, right? Faculty want to know what other folks are using in their courses, and this helps them answer that question. They can browse, or they can filter or search on this page to find out what's in use. And you know, that said, one of the first things I discovered as a coordinator is that it's impossible to really know everything that's going on. So, you know, whether you're in a statewide position like this one or just at your own college, I would say, you know, that's kind of par for the course, because you're asking really the busiest people on campus to stop what they're doing and report back to you. So just to kind of normalize that it's really hard to capture accurately everything that's happening. Okay, so I wanted to also talk about our grants. The 2015 grant cohort was funded with $55,000 in grant money. We had 8 projects, and our estimated savings goal for this pilot year is $277,000 to $386,000. So we're saving between $5 and $7 for students for each $1 spent by Open Oregon. And a few examples of the current grant projects are interactive math textbook software that lets you embed homework problems directly in the textbook in a very accessible way. We've got 2 partnerships with high schools through accelerated learning programs. We've got a technical writing textbook under development. We're going to have a discipline-specific conference for writing instructors to sort of do a gap analysis of writing OERs. So we've got really exciting projects in the pipeline with the 2015 grant cohort. And we also just got our proposals in for the 2016 grant cohort. And we've got a very dedicated committee that's reviewing those proposals and evaluating them and figuring out how to spend the current round of money, which is $200,000 to spend. And we will be able to spend it all. We got really a really good round of proposals in. And I just wanted to show what the breakdown of the proposals looks like, because there's really a lot in here that interests me just at this very high level snapshot view. And I'll say that the structure of our proposal process was inspired by Georgia Affordable Learning and how they set up their grants. So our first category was an adopt grant. So adopt an OER as is for $500. We got 7 proposals, and you can see we're saving tons of money for each dollar spent. It's really cost effective. And then our second level was revise and remix, $1,500 per person. We got the most proposals in this category. And again, the savings is almost tenfold. And then category 3, the author proposals. Sounds like somebody's microphone might be on. If everybody could just check that they're muted, and we'll get to questions at the end. So the third category was proposals to author a new OER, if you could demonstrate that there wasn't something that already exists, and that was $5,000 per person. And we're starting to see, less than $1 saved for each dollar spent in the pilot year. And then other was, proposals that we felt that we wouldn't be able to anticipate which category they'd fall into. And again, it was starting to get into pennies on the dollar. So I just thought it was so interesting how clearly this shows that adopting and adapting is so much more cost effective. It's a smaller investment and a really big immediate impact for students in terms of savings. But the other thing that I noticed here is that the revise and remix category was by far the one that got the most interest. And what this was saying to me is that faculty at the community college level get interested in this because of the affordability issue, right? The need is so clear for students to have more affordable materials. But then once they kind of scratch the surface, they start to take advantage of the affordances of open, and they realize, oh, I can customize my materials. I can add the chapter that I need. And so that's where the revise and remix comes in. So I think it's really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to next year's grant cohort. So in terms of sort of more directly sort of traditional faculty development activities, this slide is showing our on-demand training videos. I've got 3 5-minute videos up and possibly more to come. Open Oregon also has archived webinars and keynote talks on our site. We've been holding regional conferences around the state, and I've been making campus visits. And Open Oregon also joined the Open Textbook Network. So we've been giving the Open Textbook Network style workshops where faculty get a $200 stipend after the workshop if they review one of the textbooks that's in the University of Minnesota's Open Textbook Library. And of course, open textbooks are a small slice of the affordability pie, but it's also a really important part of what we're doing here. So that's sort of been one path that we're pursuing. Coming up this month, we're going to have, as far as I know, Oregon's first ever OER sprint at Treasure Valley Community College, all the way on the east side of the state in Ontario, Oregon. So faculty have a paid work day where no classes are held. It's an advising day. And we're going to get people in a room for 8 hours and have a lot of support for them and really get beyond search to implementation. So how are you going to redesign your course? What are your learning objectives? What do you already have? What do you still need? Can we get this into the LMS? Can we rewrite your syllabus right now? So to have people come away with a checklist with a lot of boxes checked off is our goal. And I'm really excited about that. And then next month, we've got the Open Textbook Network folks coming out, Dave Ernst and Sarah Cohen from University of Minnesota, and they're going to do a train the trainer. So 1 to 2 champions from each campus are going to come to Portland Community College, and we're really trying to build capacity. I do have a travel budget to go to every college, but there's one of me. So I want to get a lot more people trained up and prepared to give workshops on their campuses. So this slide is just to say that part of being a coordinator is helping people when they start to fall down the rabbit hole. So, you know, I'm here, I'm a resource, and my role with faculty really varies depending on which college that I'm working with. But, you know, I think in terms of having a coordinator available, I'm sort of a backstop in terms of being a resource to people. And that's all I've got. And I guess I'll scroll back through the chat, which I wasn't able to read while I was talking.
Thank you so much, Amy, and that was an amazing story as well about what you're doing in Oregon. And I think one thing, you know, you were mentioning that you work with faculty depending on the college, and I think you said this earlier, but I just wanted to repeat that. I wanted to repeat that you connect the colleges in the sense that you let the college down the road know what's being done elsewhere, so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I think that's a huge benefit to having a statewide coordinator.
Yeah, you know, like I said, the hardest part of my job is being responsible for knowing what's going on at each college, because one of my first discoveries is that it's really hard to know what's going on everywhere. And it's just been really great to get to know people all around Oregon and to start to sort of develop a sense of what's happening, even if you know, I don't know every detail. And in some cases, folks at the college don't know every detail of what's happening with textbook affordability. But yeah, it's been great to make all these connections.
Well, thank you. And yes, thanks to both our speakers. We will move to Q&A in just a moment. I just have a little sponsor moment here. Number one is for those of you who are at community colleges, and I know we have a number of four-year colleges and universities on the line, and you also can join our advisory list if you would like, and you can send an email directly to me to join that, and you can hear about our upcoming events, or you can use our advisory list as a way to post questions to OER experts. We have over 400 people on that list, all of who are engaged in OER. So love to have you if you want. We do have an advisory meeting coming up. So generally what CCCOER does is we have a monthly webinar and then a monthly advisory meeting during the academic terms. And in 2 weeks, we will have an advisory meeting, our monthly advisory meeting. We'll be talking about intellectual property and Creative Commons licensing. And we'll be hearing from some of our practitioners in the field and how they handle that at their college. It's been a question that's come up. And we'll also be talking about OER pathways, which is an emerging trend in the OER world, where colleges are going from either individual course adoption or perhaps entire departments are adopting OER to a pathway where every course within a degree or certificate program would use OER, which of course would maximize the benefit for students. So we'll be talking about that as well. And I also wanted to mention that Open Education Week is coming up March 7th through 11th. CCCOER is part of the Open Education Consortium, which is the sponsor, but this is open to everybody out there who's interested in OER. You can either participate, you can sponsor webinars, you can donate resources. I shouldn't say donate, you can submit resources. They're all Creative Commons licensed that you would like to share of work you're doing. We'd love to highlight that. Or you can attend and just enjoy the resources that are put out there by others. Either way. And CCCOER will be having 2 or 3 webinars that week, and we'll be publishing that later when we get the final date and time on those webinars. All right. I want to thank our amazing audience. I'm a little, actually, it's hard for me to keep up with the chat, and I wasn't even speaking. That I saw a number of times was how to work with your bookstore. around OER, and I wondered if Regina or Amy would like to answer a little bit about that, because we feel in the OER world that working with your bookstore is an important thing to do. They're the center on campus for instructional materials, and the role may change with OER, but we don't want to create a bad relationship there. So I'm going to let my speakers see if they would.
I'll go ahead if you don't mind. LCC, at the time, we didn't have any bookstore. We have a bookstore right across the campus, but that's not in any way affiliated with LCC. So it was actually only last year in the fall where we had our online bookstore, and I was part of that RFP committee who chose our online bookstore provider. The link between the OER and our online bookstore now is that because I was there in the committee, I made sure that our online bookstore has the capacity to display OER resources, because our online bookstore also has a faculty adoption tool that the faculty can use to find textbooks for their courses. So we wanted that bookstore to have the ability to show our faculty that, hey, this is an OER equivalent of this textbook that you have. So that we have, but I mean, I think they only have a link between OpenStax and I can't remember the other one. So and also, I think they are able to print from them, from within the online bookstore. They have relation with lulu.com. So if our students want to print an OER textbook, they can just go to that our online bookstore. How about you, Amy?
Well, I'll just add to what you just said. There's a research project underway through Spark. There's a monthly conference called Nicole Allen holds, and Quill West shared a sort of research design that she was working on where she had an actual student schedule, and she went to the bookstore and tried to go shopping to see what would it really cost to, you know, get through a term or get through a 2-year program, because there are so many questions about the College Board data, and she thought, okay, local data is really going to be the most persuasive to my audience. And so Spark kind of took on this research project, and I wound up trying to figure out what it would cost to get a transfer degree at every community college in Oregon, which gave me this incredible opportunity to talk to every single bookstore manager. And you know, I was really careful to say to each one of them, I'm not pointing fingers at the bookstores. We really just want to get a sense of the data so that faculty understand the impact of their choices on their students. And bookstores are the ones that are on the front lines. They're the ones negotiating with publishers. They care so much about affordability. But in a way, their hands are tied because they don't get to select the materials. All they can work with is what faculty have already selected. I mean, in terms of connecting with bookstore managers, this research project was invaluable. A surprising finding was that the $1,200 a year figure that the College Board puts out was actually, like, you know, pretty accurate. It wasn't that different, but it really let me take an individual approach with everybody and gave me an excuse to talk to bookstore managers. I mean, I had one manager tell me that she had a student who came in and was homeless, and she had to get out her purse and buy the book for the student. You know, they're just so aware of the need, and they can be really, really wonderful partners with this stuff.
All right. Well, thank you, Regina and Amy. And I know that Northern Michigan put a follow-up about any suggestions for reaching out to an unreceptive bookstore. And you know, we may, since I do want to have some other questions answered as well, we may have to save follow-up discussion for later. But I think that's a good question. And sometimes when you hit a roadblock with the bookstore, you keep them in conversation, but sometimes it does require policies at a higher level, so that it's not just you going to the bookstore, but when there's support, from perhaps the VP of Instruction, the trustee, the Board of Trustees, if there's an OER resolution that gets passed by the Academic Senate, all of these things can make the college work together on these processes a lot easier than just having it sort of be something that they look at as one person coming to them and asking for this special requirement. So, and Barbara's got a great comment in here as well. Let's see. What were some of the other questions that came up? I think, Amy, I saw you responding to a question about library resources and using those in as part of the low-cost OER solution, and I'll let you expand on that. I think those are excellent ideas. I think what it depends on when you're choosing low-cost or free rather than open resources, what you have to think about are what are your objectives. If you want to share this OER perhaps at a statewide level or even a nationwide level, if you use free materials that aren't openly licensed, those aren't necessarily available to everyone freely. It could, particularly if it's a library resource. So those are just things you want to think about. The open license, what it guarantees is that it can be shared with anyone, regardless of which college they're at or even if they're at a college. So each college, of course, has to make a choice for themselves about open versus free. But when you start to do free and low cost, you do impact how you can distribute that in the future. So just something to be aware of. And Amy and Regina, I'm going to let you talk about using library resources as part of the OER low-cost solution.
Yeah, actually, we encourage our faculty to do that even before we had the OER initiative. So for example, if they find an ebook that they want to use in their class, not just for textbook replacement, I urge them to contact me, and then I see where that ebook is available, and depending on the license agreement for that ebook, I turn that into multi-user unlimited license, just so their students can access it all at the same time. I know one Japanese faculty who contacted me last fall and said that I want to use this Japanese culture book as a replacement for my textbook, but it's available at eBrary. So I purchased that ebook right away. It was on DDA, which is demand-driven acquisition. So I purchased that right away, and fortunately, it was available as a multi-user license. So that's what they used. How about you, Amy? I see that you had some EBSCO ebooks.
Yeah, EBSCO and eBrary have both worked well for us. And as Una says, it's kind of a walled garden, right? Like it doesn't help anybody else. The textbook affordability goodness just stays in your class or in your college. But I wanted to share the information on the resources page because EBSCO ebook collections and eBrary ebook collections, not every college has access, but many do. And they might be interested, other faculty might be interested to know that somebody used this library ebook. There are so many more great open resources now than there were even just a few years ago, but there isn't an OER for every single need, and that's where turning to the library, students are already paying for access to that content. So it's not open, but in some ways, I'll tell people sometimes, like, I don't really care that much how the sausage gets made. Like, I'm not going to insist on open if you're reducing textbook costs for your students.
All right. Thank you. Thank you both for weighing in on that. We're at the top of the hour, and I know we had many questions.
We had many more questions than we can answer, which is good though. Maybe we need to follow up after.
Which is, yes. So the email addresses for Regina, Amy, and myself are on the screen here, and so please don't hesitate to contact us with your follow-up questions. And I just want to give Regina and Amy an opportunity. Would you like to make any final comments before we close the webinar out?
I'd just like to thank everyone who came in today and you know, hear us speak. Just so to give you the push, you know, don't wait for your college to have like, oh, you know, we'll have this grant, we'll have this incentive. We didn't have that here at LCC from the start. All you need is just like committed, excited, you know, group of people who can rally around some committed faculty champions, and you know, who knows, that will snowball into something big. And surely that's one thing that it's happening here at LCC. You know, it's a snowball effect, and a lot of people are really riding in the bandwagon. So, you know, don't lose hope. Just start incrementally, start small, and it'll get bigger from there.
Thank you very much, Regina. Very inspiring, and I couldn't agree more. Amy, last comment?
Yeah, sure. I would just say, you know, organizations like CCCOER and people like Una are just such a great resource, and there's, you know, I'm totally happy to talk to anybody that wants to ask follow-up questions, and I'm sure that Regina and Una would as well. So, you know, it's just such a nice community when you start looking at these issues. So I would say, you know, take advantage of that as well if you're looking for help.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thanks so much to our speakers, and thanks to our audience this morning. This was our largest webinar, I think, in the last 2 years. We had over 165 people attend today, and I think a lot of that is whenever I have librarians speak on the webinars, I get out. So go librarians.
Woohoo!
Rock. All right, I'm going to stop the recording now, but we'll be here for a few minutes in the chat window if you'd like to contact us. And thanks again to everyone.